Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. I'm your host, Dr. Jeff Williamson, and whether you are just starting your leadership journey or have led others for decades, this podcast aims to shine a spotlight on those who lead others and share their guiding principles that have made them great leaders. Welcome to Leadership Level Up. I'm your host, Jeff Williamson, and it's good to have you back with us. We are visiting today with a local friend and entrepreneur who we had on a while back. And it's good to have Caleb Benoit back with us. We're going to talk with him about leadership. He is the founder and owner of Connect Roasters based here in Bourbonnais, Illinois. And so we'll check in on any updates there. And then we're going to talk some more just about leadership. And boy, when you start a business and you have employees and people that are working at your roastery, at your shop, that's a whole nother dimension of being a leader as well as being an entrepreneur. So welcome back. Glad to have you with us and looking forward to talking with you about all this stuff.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So last time you were on, we were talking about the Converge conference that you were part of. And one of the themes from that was that we brought in people and had speakers and panels of people that are from this community who are renewing places, starting new businesses, and you've done all the above. And your company started back 8 years ago, and then this year you have launched your first brick and mortar shop, one of my favorite cafes in the area. And so we're going to talk some about leadership in the process of that. So I remember from last time you said when you started Connect, it was you.
It was me.
So, solo-preneur.
Solo.
Yeah. Wheeling and dealing, sourcing, locating, selling coffee, and you were that guy.
Yep.
And then at some point you decided to try to grow that. And I think you said it was 3 years in that you decided, hey, I think it makes sense for us to start roasting our own coffee. Yeah. So that was when you first had a place, correct?
Yeah.
For Connect Roasters, and it was just the roastery at that point.
Yeah, it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, anybody who's started a business, tried to grow a business, you learn that you get to a certain point and you're like, hey, I need some help here.
Yeah, I can't keep doing this.
I can't do this by myself. Right. So, with Connect, it was time to start recruiting some help. We decided to bring the coffee roasting in-house, open our own roastery, bought the equipment. I knew that I was good at selling coffee, marketing, the coffee things itself, but I didn't have the bandwidth or the expertise to actually do the roasting. And so that's when we went from
Which
a
is
team.
a whole science.
It is. It's one part art, one part science. And so that's when we doubled our workforce and went from 1 employee to 2. And as the business has grown, it's been recruiting more help and more help. We have a cafe now. So, we've got a team of baristas who work at the cafe. Right. We're shipping coffee to all 50 states. And so that requires, work on the packaging side and the order fulfillment, customer service. So, the more you try to take on, the more people you need to do the work. And so we've grown pretty organically, but we've gone from 1 to, we've got a team of 7 or 8 at the cafe.
I was going to say, I know that many.
Yeah, you know
hanging there a lot.
You know better than anybody, the names and the faces there.
Yeah. So when you started to add on in terms of people, what did you go to? You had a couple of people doing the roastery side of things besides you, or what was that? So it went from you doubled their workforce to 2. What was the next stage? Was it kind of like a couple more and a couple more?
Yeah, it was, hired somebody to do the actual roasting, like hands on the machine. Then it was some help on the packaging side. Like once that coffee's roasted, it needs to be put in packaging so it could be shipped. At the same time, we started doing some events, local farmers markets and things like that. Not necessarily something you can do with one person if you're doing it well. So it was recruiting some help to set up on Saturday mornings at the local farmers market. It was some organic growth from there. And then obviously when we opened the cafe, that was a big step in hiring and bringing on more people.
So now from 8 years ago that you started, 7, 8 people that are baristas at the cafe, and
Yep.
then you've got what a
Three
handful of
or
people
four
that
at the
are
roastery.
working more behind the scenes
Yep.
at the roastery. Because one of the people that came in recently to the shop, I was working there one day and I hadn't met him, and I was just chatting with him like I'm prone to do, and they said, "Oh well, I've worked mostly over at the roastery," and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out, well, I've seen you in here from time to time, but you're not behind the counter, so I didn't realize. But so you've got some people there that primarily are doing the work in the
I mean, our business is really right now 2 businesses, right? Like we've got the brick and mortar cafe, which is retail, hospitality. It's a coffee shop. But then we're also a food manufacturer, a food processor. And so that's very much behind the scenes. It's done in a warehouse. It's a little bit more like a factory.
Yeah.
Those who work there are not, front and center in front of all of our customers every day.
But boy, are we grateful for
But
them.
it's important work, right? Like if we're not roasting coffee, what business do we have?
Yeah, yeah. So there's that collaboration. There's, bringing other people in who have to have different responsibilities, and there you are. You went from 1 to 8 or 10 of us, it sounds like. And so from a leadership perspective, were there adjustments you had to make personally to go, gosh, it can't just be in my head like, oh, I know how to do this and that's all that matters. It's like processes and sequences, and here's how we do this. And what was that like?
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it, right? Like when you're working solo, if you want, everything can live inside your head, right? Like that can be the document. That can be your Google Drive.
Not scalable.
But when you start working with other people, you have to start documenting processes and procedures, operating manuals, things like that. And then there's just like the regular communication, whether it's weekly or monthly, making sure that everybody is in the loop and informed on what's going on. And I'm still learning that. I don't know that I do a great job of that, but being founder and CEO, so much of the business flows through me. Well, if I'm not communicating whatever is coming to me, our people are in the dark.
When did that happen?
Right. So
how did you know that? I didn't know that.
100%. Especially like with 2 separate businesses, right? Like stuff happens at the roastery. How does the cafe find out about it? Stuff is happening at the cafe. How does the roastery find out about it? So, I mean, I'm relearning that lesson every day. But it's you become focused more outward, right? Like everything cannot live inside of my inside of my head.
Yeah, those standard operating procedures and how much of this and how long at this temperature and the roasting part is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I was in a place in central Indiana just a few days ago, and they roast in their place too, like you guys do.
Yeah.
And I was just fascinated. I didn't get a chance to sit down and just gawk at the process, but it was so fascinating.
Yeah.
And I love that.
It's cool to see the behind the scenes, right? I tell people roasting coffee is akin to baking cookies in their oven at home. We put the coffee in 400 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes, and when you get to the end of it, you've got a delicious product. So there's more to it than that, but it's kind of cool to see the behind the scenes and see how the thing that we enjoy on most days is made.
Yeah. I had an opportunity many, many years ago now, probably gone, this is probably like 08, 09. So 15, 16 years ago, I was teaching a class for a 2-week period in Jamaica.
Oh.
And there were some gap days between when we had class and then it was a working professional kind of thing. So they'd go back to their locations and then we had class really mostly over the weekend. So the week between I had chance to do business tours, and so one of them was to go to a coffee factory in Jamaica. When I literally was able to see everything from the bags rolling in on the back of a flatbed truck to the ginormous roasters and vac systems until it was shrink wrap, ready to go out on a pallet on the back landing, and that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
It's a cool experience because it really doesn't happen here in the U.S. I mean, we have coffee
on
roasters,
that scale,
but the stuff that happens at origin on a coffee farm, that happens in places where you've been and where I've
Costa
been.
Rica, another was same kind of thing.
100%. I mean, we don't grow coffee commercially in the U.S. really outside of Hawaii. So maybe there's some of that there, but yeah, you go to a place like Jamaica, Guatemala, the Dominican Republic, and you can see something cool like that.
Oh yeah. It's just really amazing. And I'm kind of a logistics geek. I love seeing all the steps in a process that ends up, this wonderful end product like you guys deliver every day at your shop. Have you learned being a leader and having more people relying on the business to do what you do? Have you learned some things about yourself? I mean, you were talking about trying to communicate, trying to make sure everybody's in the loop of things that are going on. Are there other things where you're like, I've learned a thing or two about myself in the process?
Yeah, I think whenever you start managing people, all of your deficiencies start to bubble to the surface. Maybe you've experienced that, but I think in managing a team or teams, I've learned where my deficiencies are, where there's gaps.
Blind spots show up, don't they?
Yeah, it's funny how that works, right? It's a little bit like marriage, right? Like it's a mirror, and it's you see yourself in running the business and in the people who you're working with.
The good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah. So I think there are lessons I'm continuing to learn, but we talked about communication. I think that would be at the top of the list for me.
Always.
And it's so easy to get bogged down with parts trying to run the business. It's easy for me to say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm busy trying to run this or build this thing. But continuing to try to carve out time to communicate with our team, to invest in our team. I think those are some of the things that I've learned and I'm continuing to learn.
One of the things you brought to our community is some of the classes that you do, which I've keep talking, but I need to do it. You've had, like Saturday half day courses on a variety of things related to the coffee industry. So what are some of those? If somebody's like, wow, I've never been to one of those.
Yeah.
What are those like? What do you guys do?
I love teaching. I love learning. We've done a few different classes. We've done a coffee roasting 101 class at our roastery.
At the roastery.
Yes, to show kind of what we were talking about, the behind the scenes on how we take a product of agriculture and take it, can transform it to something that we can consume. So that's been a really popular class because it's a behind the scenes. You don't get to see that very often. I do a coffee 101 class where we talk about all things coffee, but hopefully shed some light on some parts of the industry, supply chain, stuff that's happening on the farm, stuff that we do as a business that maybe you weren't otherwise thinking about. One of my favorite parts of those classes is people come to those classes with their questions. And so a good third of the time, it's just banter back and forth. People ask, whether it's how to brew coffee or the differences in where coffee comes from,
acidity and tasting.
We dive into all that
kind of stuff.
So, and it's funny too because some of the same questions pop up class after class after class. How does decaf coffee get made?
Why? I guess if I just had to, it'd be like, well, the taste is there.
Hey, I have a lot of respect for decaf drinkers because they're drinking it not for the caffeine, but for the taste.
Is true.
Right? It's not a vehicle for caffeine because there is none. So you got to respect the decaf drinkers.
You make a good point there. I salute those who just like the taste of a good cup of coffee, even if they don't get the kick.
Exactly.
Wow. Now I won't put you on the spot and where you state months and dates, but do you anticipate in the coming few months that you'll maybe do some of those education options?
Yeah. Summertime is typically a busy time for us with events and things like that. And so we schedule most of those classes fall, winter, spring, when people are looking for things to do.
Hot cup of coffee in January sounds pretty good.
This part of the country, it gets kind of bleak.
No farmers markets then.
No. So try to give people something to look forward to. So some of those classes we do at the cafe, some of those classes we do at the roastery, some of those we do out in the community. I've done coffee 101 classes at local libraries and things like that. So we post that information on social media to let people know where they can sign up and when those are coming.
Have you done those sometimes like a private, like a company will say, hey, we want to bring you in and have you do coffee 101 just for a team experience for our employees or something? Is that a thing that you could do or have done?
100%. We get hired for private events, whether it's coffee service or can certainly do the coffee education. It's a cool opportunity for employees of an organization.
I was thinking about, if I'm a business or nonprofit leader out there, and I want to do something creative for my team that's kind of out of the ordinary, I'd be like, have Connect Roasters come and do Coffee 101 for your staff. Talk about a fun, different kind of development, invest in team building kind of stuff. That could be cool.
I appreciate that. Yeah, one of my favorite parts of those classes is the foundation of it is we taste some coffees side by side. It's a taste testing and palate development exercise. And so a lot of people say, oh, there's no way I could tell the difference between a Guatemalan and an Ethiopian coffee.
Oh, yes, you could.
And I say you're selling yourself short. And so we do it. We do that exercise, and you'd be surprised how many people are surprising themselves. Like,
oh, I can taste the difference.
100%. Yeah, I've never had a person in class be like, I can't
it's
really
all
tell.
the same to me.
100%. So,
well, that's the thing with good coffee is there are those differentiators.
That's
too.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could talk. We could do another episode about that.
And we might just do that.
Sounds good.
So one of the things I want to be sure to do is give you an opportunity for a shameless sharing of, website, location. If you want to do an event at Connect Roasters, or you want to have them cater some things in for an event or a company thing, tell them where they can get in touch with you and where they can learn more about Connect Roasters and all the things that you guys are doing.
Appreciate that. Website is connectroasters.com. And then we're on social media on most, if not all, of the platforms. And the handle everywhere is at Connect Roasters. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So yeah, get in contact with us through one of those channels.
Well, thanks, man. I love talking coffee, and I love talking local community development, and you're involved in all of that. And that's like you had said previously, that's where it takes all of us in different ways to lift up our communities, to take a chance on ourselves, whether it's entrepreneurs or volunteering for different kinds of nonprofits, all those good things. Those are ways that we lift up community.
Yeah. I appreciate you being a champion and a cheerleader for our community, right?
Yeah,
because
it's so fun.
I mean, I love your optimism, and I think it's encouraging to it's encouraging to business owners because starting a business, brick and mortar especially, can be a daunting task. But to have people, to know that people like you are by our side and encouraging us and supporting us, that means everything. So,
oh man, I love doing that. That ain't working, man. But thank you for saying that. I hope that's always the case. I try to do that. I love to share some good news when somebody's doing something, and you certainly are with Connect Roasters. So
appreciate that.
Thanks again for coming in with us, and I'll probably see you in the morning.
I hope so. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to Leadership Level Up. Please subscribe so you don't miss future conversations with great leaders. If you would like to learn more about executive coaching and team development, please go to convergegroup.io for more information.